hello, and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. And I am going to go ahead and get started. This is the Monetize My YouTube Viral Strategies for Exponential Reach. So, what are we doing today? We are going to talk about the triggers that allow videos to go viral, how to grab and keep the attention of your audience, how the dynamite effect can grow your channel. We're going to discuss 3 viral videos and look at the best practices that they're doing, in some cases that they're doing well and that they're not doing well, right? So even though they're viral, there's things that we can learn about on the not so good side. And then we're going to have some action steps and Q&A at the end. So let's talk about the keys to viral contagiousness. What makes a video go viral? So I broke this down super simple, okay? These are the 3 key things to think about when you want to go viral, or at least, viral means reaching as many people as possible, but it could just be, if you have currently only been reaching a few people, a few dozen people, maybe it's getting to hundreds. If you've been reaching hundreds, maybe it's reaching thousands. If you've been reaching thousands, it's tens of thousands. So it's making that exponential jump, okay? So very simple. If you cover topics that appeal to the mainstream and the masses, you have more likely that your content is going to reach more people because that is a more general audience. That you can be reaching potentially millions of people when you cover topics that appeal to the mainstream masses. The caveat to this, or the pro tip, is that you create an angle that applies to your niche, to your brand, to your business. So if you are a beauty brand and you just willy-nilly start talking about what's, the presidential election in the United States, that's a disconnect. There needs to be a tie-in somehow. You could talk about the first lady's beauty regimen, right? The beauty routine, that's a tie-in, right? But just talking about politics in general is not going to be a tie-in. So my suggestion is always, if you're going to talk about a mainstream topic, that there is some angle to your business, to your niche. The second thing is that you cover topics that are highly appealing to your specific niche and audience. So you can cover some topics that are appealing to the general audience, or you can go really into your specific niche and get topics that are going to appeal to like almost all of your niche. As an example, with my true crime channel, the reason I was able to grow so quickly is that there was both mainstream appeal in the content that I was covering and a lot highly appealing content within a niche audience. So that's how I was able to get large numbers of people watching my videos, and how I was able to grow fairly quickly from that niche. And then the third thing is luck. Some people just get lucky posting their first video, and they might get tens of thousands or millions of views, right? But we're going to talk about now a little later that usually it's not really luck. It's like there's that saying, I think it's something like, it took me 15 years to become an overnight success, right? A lot of times it's that consistency that ends up having the viral factor. So those are the 3 things. If you had to break it down and, think about your content, and later on in the questions, the key steps, the action steps, I'm going to ask you to look at these for your specific audience and niche and see what topics you can cover that could apply to these. So I've said this before, and if you really want to grow fast, this is part of what helped me, what's helped a lot of my clients to become monetized. To grow fast, they create content that has some form of shock and or controversy. The thing is, the reason why you grow fast covering this type of content is that people either love it or they hate it, and they want to weigh in. They want to comment. They want to talk. They want to share. They want to engage, right? And shock doesn't have to be bad, doesn't have to be necessarily negative. It could be things that are you're in awe. So there could be a positive side of shock and controversy too. It's just that it's that awe factor. So provocative, things that are provocative, that have different viewpoints, strong opinions on the news and events. There's, of course, a downside to this, which is that you could get a lot of hater comments, which happens. But the upside of this is that you get a lot of positive comments usually as well, of people that agree with you. And so I, for one, do not like posting very, very controversial things because I'm a people pleaser. I've had to work on that. But you never know. There's things that I've posted that I didn't even realize was controversial and ended up getting a ton of engagement and helped me grow my channel. Controversial or polarizing public figures, right? Let's take that beauty example. So let's say, I mean, obviously, if you talk about any of the presidential candidates, that's an automatic polarizing public figure, no matter what, no matter what political party you ascribe to. But let's take the first ladies, right? There are some first ladies that are more polarizing than others. You could just think about the most recent presidential, the last presidents and the first ladies, and some are more polarizing, some are more controversial than others. And so if you were to do your beauty brand, and if you were to do the beauty regimen or beauty routine of a certain first lady, is going to get you a lot more attention, a lot more buzz than other first ladies, right? And so that's something, just take this, whatever I'm talking about here, and apply it to your business, to your brand. Somebody, I won't even go into specific names, but you can just, with your imagination, you can say, you can already know who would have more of a widespread appeal, both good and bad, right? And so that's what we're talking about when we're, if you could apply a controversial public figure or topic to your business. Outrageous or risky actions. So that's not going to apply to everyone. But if you even think about something as silly as, I love animals, and there are these animal videos that I always end up watching. And a lot of times it's something like the baby is on the edge of a branch and it's going to fall, and then you want to stay, you want to watch it because you want to know what's happening. It's scary. There's suspense. You don't know what's going to happen. And so you end up watching the whole way through, and then it ends up being the baby gets rescued and all's well, right? So those types of things where there's suspense, something you're not sure what the outcome's going to be. It's risky. There's something, it evokes that emotion. So the pro tip, and I've already kind of alluded to this, is to make sure that it aligns with your audience and your brand. And that way, the most important reason for this is so that if you do get followers, subscribers, comments, engagement, that those people are there, they're going to continue to follow you. You don't want them to subscribe to your channel because they watched one video on a controversial topic. You never ever talk about anything related again, and then they unsubscribe. That does happen a lot. It's happened to me. And I know a lot of other creators where they have a video go viral for one thing that they end up changing the focus of their channel, and then they lose those subscribers. So if you really want to continue to grow, make sure that if you use this strategy, that you align it with your brand. And this is one of those things where, I'm not going to talk about too much about this today because we talked about it in our first session more, that there's a percentage of your content that you I suggest putting toward your slow and steady growth content. Let's just say 80%. I usually say something like 75 to 80% of your content. You want on those steady content topics that are going to build your channel slowly and steadily. Maybe slowly is not the best word, but steadily. That's going to allow you to have consistency in your channel. And then 20%, I usually suggest having some testing another topic that maybe is a little bit outside of the box. That could be some of these provocative topics that are, you can tie them into your niche, but they're not 100% what you would normally talk about. But that's what's cool about these testing, is that it allows you to open up to a larger audience that could end up subscribing to your channel. And because they have a possibility of going viral, could help you grow your channel faster. And then they come to your channel, back to your channel, because you have this other great content. So that's one of my key strategies if you're going to grow fast, if you want to grow fast. And so with how allows our audience to watch the videos, to count for a view, and to stay on your video watching the whole way. First, we need that strong hook, because we want to grab their attention. And I said this before, but clickbait, as long as clickbait is used to grab the attention and you're going to provide content that answers that, let's say that title, that headline, as long as you're not misleading people, clickbait could be good because it's going to grab that attention, right? You don't want to put something that's false, misleading, or flat out wrong, or something that's completely not aligned to the content. So the idea is a strong hook grabs that attention and piques the curiosity of our viewer. In most cases, you have about 3 seconds. And with certain content, like with YouTube Shorts, you have sometimes less than a second. So it's got to be something super catchy right at the beginning. And I know you may have heard me say this before. I usually suggest now the best practice is to cut out any dead air, any wasted time, wasted space in the first part of your video, so that you get right into the content. So an example of a strong hook, definitely having a catchy headline and a provocative thumbnail. 2 things that grab that attention quickly are going to help people to watch your video. Those are the first 2 things basically that people have. They see your headline and they see your thumbnail. And I suggest you have a really, really catchy headline that the thumbnail, if you have a really, really good headline, you don't have to say a lot in your thumbnail, meaning you don't have to have words in your thumbnail. You can have an image that corresponds to the headline. What I like to do is usually have a mix. Well, I'll have a really catchy headline, and then I might have a phrase or a short sentence, like 3 words or 4 words, in the thumbnail that's different from the headline, but gives piques a little bit more of the interest. That's usually what I do. But this is always testing. Like I suggest testing all of these things and seeing what works for you. Another thing that helps is if you have either text on the screen for the first 3 seconds, like maybe saying, like it could be posing a question, or it could be something else that grabs that attention in the first 3 seconds. It could also be, a strong engaging promise in the first 3 seconds. So that is another way of saying, so instead of text, let's say if you were going to ask a question, pose a question, like if you were going to do a provocative video, you can pose it as a question in text, or you can say it, right? So have you ever wondered what XYZ first lady does to look 10 years younger, right? Something like that, right? Is a type of a hook that you can say at the beginning of your video to draw the attention to your audience. And I just made that up on the spot, but I'm sure you can come up with something even more catchy, engaging. I mean, oh, another thing I like doing sometimes the opposites or the flips. So it could be like this one unexpected or a surprising beauty tip I don't know, has saved the White House millions of dollars per year. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here. But you get the idea. You can come up with ways to really engage the audience that we don't want to say any lies, right? We don't want to mislead. But if there's something for real that can really grab that attention, try to have that in your video. Of course, that could also be part of the headline or the thumbnail. And then if you can, it's not always going to work, but if you can add music or add some type of a theme to your videos, that's really going to help to grab the attention. I'm going to show you some examples now in a minute or in a few minutes that are going to reinforce this idea. So once we have them, so we hook them with that hook, we grab their attention, they're watching your video. Now we want them to watch the whole way through. Why do we care if they watch the whole way through? Two main reasons. One, it helps you build your watch hours. So if you're trying to get monetized, it's going to help you to build your watch hours so that you can get monetized quicker. And then once you are monetized, then the way that monetization works on YouTube is that you can get for every 8 minutes, or starting with 8 minutes, you can have 2 ads in your videos. So before that, you would only have 1 ad at the beginning. But once you get to 8 minutes, you can put a second ad. And then if you have, let's say, a 12-minute video, you can add another ad, right? So it's not like it's for every 4 minutes, but the way that YouTube works is it allows you to have an ad for every like 4 to 8 minutes in your video. So we want people to watch all the way through. Apart from, of course, you created content, you spend time creating content, you want people to watch your video. And a third reason is, of course, if you've got a call to action at the end, like you've got an offer, or you have a freebie, or you want them to subscribe to your channel. They're more likely to subscribe to your channel if they watch all the way through. So that's why we want them to watch through. And here's another reason. If people watch your video more through or more of the way through, YouTube actually sees that as a good sign and continues to push your content out. So for all those reasons, this is why we want them to watch as much of the video as possible. So these are some ways that you can keep their attention while they're watching your video. One thing I really like to do is add text on the screen. Like, let's say if I do 3 tips, 3 beauty tips that First Lady, does on her morning routine. As I give each tip, I would put on the screen number 1, and I would write out what it is. So it kind of gives a little bit of continuity within the video. It helps the viewer. So I like to add text on the screen. The second thing is captions and subtitles. So YouTube does build in subtitles. However, some creators have been actually putting them on themselves. And there are separate programs that you can pay for that will add your subtitles. I usually only do it if I'm doing like an ad where I want people to actually watch it, and it's usually a short video, like a 3-minute video. I don't put subtitles on my 10-minute, 15-minute videos. So just short ones that I'm using for an ad. So if there's a specific purpose, I have done it. But some creators add subtitles to all of their videos. It helps to keep, it's like you're reading, plus you're listening, plus you're watching. So all the things at once help to engage your audience. Music is another good way. You have to, of course, be careful with copyright. However, Music could be a really good way. And I'm going to show you now in a couple of examples where music was really helpful in keeping that attention throughout the video. Another thing, this is like over the last couple of years, we have moved away from, or I say we have moved toward having more edits in videos. However, interestingly, we are now moving back toward a more authentic, less edited, less filtered type of editing. So I hope that didn't confuse you, but here I'll just recap it. We want to find a way to edit our videos that feels authentic for our audience and for ourselves, and also what works for you. So I really like a lot of seeing a lot of cuts to eliminate dead space in my videos, but I'm actually allowing now more mistakes. So like, you know how I just said, So like if I were to do this as a video, I might keep those uhs. Before I used to cut out all my uhs and dead space. So I'm allowing more of that unfiltered editing because it's a way for me to test to see if that's going to apply to my audience. And so, you know, again, test what works for you. If you've been doing it one way and haven't been getting a good result, then try another way. And then another thing that helps is asking questions throughout. Some creators I know that do a really, really, really good job. They're presenting information and they're like, well, I'm not really an expert on this, but for those of you who are, what do you think? Or they'll just say, like, post in the comments what you think about this. And they'll say that throughout their video. And that keeps people engaged. And then, of course, gets them to comment. And then the last one, which is possibly a really, really, really good tip, one of the ones that I love to do as well. I don't do it every single time I make a video. It's this teasing and ending. So it could be like, wait for it, or watch till the end, or at the end, you know, I'm going to give 5 tips. And number 5 is the must. You must do this if you want to be successful in your industry. So kind of teasing, not kind of, teasing an ending, teasing a result, an outcome at the end of the video that they want to look out for. Or it could even be teasing something that's going to happen. Doesn't have to be necessarily at the end, but you could tease something and not say where it's going to be so that they wait for it until the end, right? So you can tease it without saying it's going to be at the end and just tease it and then actually put it at the end. That's another thing that successful creators do. We always want to make sure that we're in integrity with this. I don't like misleading or so it goes back to that clickbait, that bad clickbait idea that people are using clickbait for misleading purposes. We don't ever want to do that. There's been a couple of videos I remember seeing where there was a promise of something that wasn't actually delivered. So we don't want that. We want to make sure that we are providing, like when we say we're going to give a tip or something, that we do it. And it can naturally, sometimes I'm just thinking of times where maybe I've done that and maybe I forgot to say something. So sometimes it can happen by accident. But if you're editing a video, don't promise something and then don't deliver it, right? If it happens in a live or if it happens in something, a longer video, of course. So that's why that promise at the beginning is a really good hook, but we want to make sure that you deliver it or else you can lose your audience. And in some cases, some people even unsubscribe. Okay. So remember I said luck was number 3, the third thing that can help you go viral. Well, it's luck or the dynamite effect. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, I've been talking about the dynamite effect. It's a phenomenon I learned, I figured, I stumbled upon, and I really do think that for most people who have that like overnight success, it's really the dynamite effect. And what is the dynamite effect? So YouTube rewards loyalty. They reward people who are posting videos consistently and good content too. It doesn't have to always be the best content, but they see, they're looking, they're analyzing, they've got their analytics, they've got their algorithm going, and they're seeing what's getting attention, what's working, what's not. And I noticed that the dynamite effect happens, and I'm going to show you an example now in a second, on videos and channels before they skyrocket. And so in a sense, it's kind of like a defibrillator where there's like a very almost like it looks like a flat line, and then all of a sudden a video goes viral or a channel goes viral. And there's that consistent content posting, and then all of a sudden a video goes viral. And so I've seen this so much at this point that that's why I decided to call it its own phenomenon, the dynamite effect. So here's an example of a video that went viral. And the person posted in July, and then the following year, so about 18 months later, it ended up going viral. And so if you look, this is the way that it looks. It was kind of like a flat line with some tiny little peaks. But then all of a sudden it blows up. And so that's because not only was this video a good video, but they were consistently posting other content. And all of a sudden it took off. I don't know why it took off, but this has happened again for so many people that I've seen, including my own channels, that I know that there was that consistent posting that fed the algorithm and allowed the videos to, one of them to eventually pop. So I always say, your videos haven't done well, don't be discouraged. Maybe in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, maybe a video could take off. And so that's the dynamite effect for a viral video. Now for a channel, one thing I've noticed as well is when you post consistently, there is usually like a little peak that happens as well. And then after that peak, the channel views just grow. It's like it up levels. And once it up levels, it's kind of like it gets to that next level. So I've seen that happen for channels as well. This is that previous slide was just one video. This is all of the videos. This is all of the views for this particular channel. And then, so I suggest it's like the shock, like a defibrillator, right? By just posting, right, and continuing to post, you shock the algorithm. So this is another example where this was this one of my channels? Can't remember now. But this is one where I posted, there was like a tiny, like a flat line here. It's like little tiny peaks. And then all of a sudden I posted, you see here, 2 times. And then it started just going up and up and up and up. And so it's like a flat line, and then all of a sudden it like jogs the algorithm when you start posting. And then this was just a really short period of time. But the idea is that no matter where you're at, if you haven't posted in a month or 6 months or a year, just post, right? Just post, because it's like that is getting you into the algorithm. And if you've been posting 2 times a week, 2 times or 3 times a week, post a second, like a 4th time, right? Like all of that is going to help the algorithm get your content out to more people. And so, like I said, it's like the defibrillator, right? So here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to go through 3 viral videos. We're going to go through some best practices on each of the videos, and I'm going to share. Okay, so the first video is going to be, this is my client. Her video went viral. We're going to show it now in a second. She's gotten over 5 million views. She posted this video, if I recall, 8 years ago. And so we're going to look at her video. This is another video. I alluded to this before. This is the truck driver that his video, this was about 6 months ago. He went viral, 9.8 million views. We're going to look at his and see why this works. And then this is another one. I did a search yesterday for a business video that has the most views. And I think I did it for the last month. So this was one of the videos, if not the video, that had the most views under the topic of business when I did a search on YouTube. And this was from Business Insider. Not this one. We're going to start with the belly dance performance. Okay. So, can you hear? Put a thumbs up if you can hear. Okay, great. Okay, so this is the video. I'm just going to do about 40 seconds. So this one was posted 8 years ago. And so I actually analyzed this with my client, and she herself told me what she believed the reason was that this one went viral was the shock factor. So she agreed with me when I say like the shock can help videos go viral because you don't expect a pregnant person to be dancing, right? And not only was she a little pregnant, she was 9 months pregnant. And she was at the beginning of the 9 months. So she says that she was like, it's totally safe and everything was fine. And she I think the following day she went on maternity leave. But she gets comments of people saying how beautiful it is. And then she also gets comments. Sometimes people are like, that's gross, that's wrong. So there's controversy there, right? There's shock and controversy with it. And so that's part of the reason why people watch and why people engage in her content. Now let's look at her screen. The thumbnail is just a video, or is just a screenshot of this, something like this, where you see her belly in a belly dance costume. So that stands out, right? That's provocative. And then her headline is Portia, belly dancer, performs at 9 months pregnant. So it's very simple. She didn't really need to put her name. She could have just said belly dancer performs 9 months pregnant, and that would have been fine. But she's co-branding herself, so she wants to make sure her name is in the title. And so it's very simple, and you get right there when you read it what it is. So those are her two hooks, the thumbnail and the title. Now, I'm going to say a best practice that she did here at the beginning that I would not recommend, but it wasn't too bad. So if you notice, I'm going to put the volume down. At the beginning, she has this little intro, which is not a best practice anymore. 8 years ago, people had long intros, 30-second intros. That's no longer a best practice. People want to get right into it. But what's good is in this case, it was only about a second long. So it didn't really detract too much. But today, if she were to repost this video today, I would recommend that she remove that and get right into it. Another way that she did a hook, interestingly, is that at the beginning of her video, she has her front away from the camera. So you can't actually tell that she's pregnant. So some people are curious to see her, right? Because you can't tell. So there's a little bit of piquing the curiosity there in this case. And people are like, oh, what's happening? Is she really pregnant? And so they're watching to see, right, if she's pregnant. And so the entire video is about 3 minutes and a half. The song that she uses is not a very viral song, but the music does help, right? If this was just there was no music, it wouldn't add to, like she needs the music to help with the performance. So music is another good way to keep people engaged watching the entire time. That's not going to apply to everyone's videos. Like I don't have music in most of my videos unless it's very short videos. So that's video number 1. And if you have any other suggestions or things that stood out to you, feel free to type them in the comments. Things that you didn't like or things that you did like for each of these 3 videos. Okay, so that was number 1. This is number 2. Let's see if it sounds. Add the phone. Add the phone. Okay, so with this video, this is a short. And so this one got almost 10 million views. So what's really interesting about this one is that this is a super specific niche. He's a truck driver. This is not at all a mainstream channel. But what made it interesting is it's just different. It's so different that people are intrigued by it. Even me, I don't care anything about trucks, but I thought it was so weird, like so weird and interesting, and it's just different, right? It's a little bit shocking, going back to the shock factor of seeing a big truck backing into traffic to park, right? It's different. Now, 2 things that he did really well. One, he wrote this text right here. This is the tease. This is the hook I was talking about. I can't believe this happened, ... to get people to watch all the way through. So that was like the tease that got people, there was the hook and then to watch all the way through. The other thing is he has a really catchy song. The Bad to the Bone song. So the music here really, really helped to elevate it, to make it more interesting to watch. Now, I would say a best practice here, he didn't do too great, but it didn't seem to affect his, so far, the views. The title is not very good. All he says is backing a B train and a bunch of hashtags. So my recommendation is to have a little bit more of an enticing headline that's I don't know, something else, something that's more enticing. Now, what's good though, what he did, again, he said, I can't believe this happened. So there he did do that tease, but he could have backed it up with a better headline. So you see that, interestingly, you don't always have to have all of these things in place to have a viral video. Like in this case, again, I don't even know what a B train is. I've never even heard of what a B train is. If I just saw backing a B train, I would not click on it. It was the combination of the images of the video and I can't believe this happened. So you see some things, if you want to do shorts, this is a really good formula, having an enticing image and a tease. And again, I would for sure recommend a much better headline. So those are the things I would recommend and best practices for shorts to go viral. And then this is the 3rd video. Now this was really interesting because I'm going to actually go to Business Insider and let's look at their more recent videos. So one thing that they did, this was a fairly recent video. This is the one that I was going to share with you. Why melted bugs on candy and lemons fuel a $167 million industry. So that one definitely stood out because, and it's the most viral of their videos in the most recent past for Business Insider. They've got almost 7 million views. The title for sure helped. Melted bugs, right? It's weird. And again, going back to shock value, right? It's different. and it's enticing, it's intriguing, it piques your interest. And then the image is, you're not quite sure what it is, but it piques the interest enough that you want to see what it is. And so let's just watch a couple seconds of this. I have some other things I wanted to mention.
Amber goop comes from bugs, and you've probably eaten it before. It's a natural resin called shellac, and once it's stretched and cooled, it's used in tons of ways, from adding a shine to popular candies like jelly beans and preserving citrus fruit to finishing wood. Its history dates back 3,000 years in India, where it was originally used to make jewelry and adorn palaces. India is the world's largest shellac producer.
So this was, I really thought this was interesting. Obviously, Business Insider has a editing team and they can create really polished videos. So even though this is business related, they have a very good editing team. So one thing though, I guess the best practice here is that they're telling a story and it really draws you in because it's already weird and shocking and you're kind of like, what is this about? Right? Talking about resin and bugs and weird things, but they tell it in a story. And again, that draws you in to wanting to watch more. And I actually ended up watching the entire video. I was not even planning on it, but it drew me in and I wanted to learn more. And so I didn't even watch, usually I watch videos on double speed and I didn't even watch this on double speed. So it did a really good job of in getting your attention and then having people watch all the way through. They have a little music, it's very low, but they add background music just to as like mood music, which really, really helps. They also, well, these, let me see if these, okay, so these are not, it helps me. I usually have captions on the whole time. And, but if you look at, this was another thing I thought was really interesting. If you look at their most popular videos, they're all really intriguing. How one man in Egypt is keeping this 200-year-old tile tradition alive. What new army cadets go through on their first day at West Point. How families in India are keeping a 500-year cashew liquor tradition alive. Tesla's Model X. Why Lotus silk is so expensive. What new Marine Corps recruits go through. So they're all things that are different and a little weird or intriguing. They pique the interest. And so the titles pique your interest, and then the images that they choose help to reinforce. And not a lot of them have text. Very few of them have text. So they're really relying a lot on the image that they're using for the thumbnail. Let's see. What's another one? I mean, almost all of them are just weird. Briquettes made from coconut waste? What? Why Rolls Royce are so expensive? And so it's weird stuff, not necessarily stuff that you would think about on a daily basis, but it's got a mainstream wide appeal. And so they're doing a really good job with their headlines. And then again, with the reinforcing with the thumbnails. So those are the three that I found. And this one I just stumbled upon yesterday, but I thought that the idea of it was really interesting. And I figured we would be able to get have some learning lessons from that. So let me pull back up the PowerPoint and finish up there. So if you feel free, if you type in, was there anything else that you saw from any of these that stood out to you, or that any lesson that I didn't mention, something either positive or something that you wouldn't do, let me know in the comments. So we had the dance video, we had the truck video, and we had the business video. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Those were kind of like the big observations that I had. I did want to mention real quick, I have a new service that I'm actually promoting. It's a beta. I'm just launching it now. And it's for anyone who wanted the one-to-one customized support. And it's in a new Voxer format. So normally I do one-to-one client sessions, but here I developed a new mentorship program that allows us to communicate by Voxer or WhatsApp or email. So you would choose one format. So if you want to have through Voxer, which is an app where you can do voice notes, you can send videos, you can send images. WhatsApp is very similar, or email, and it'll be unlimited coaching and questions that would be answered. And we'll do weekly accountability check-ins. And then anyone who signs up for this will get a bonus one-to-one training session assessment right at the beginning, so we can see where you're at right now, and we'll develop the plan for the next 90 days. And that whole value is $1,800. And I do ask that to start, if you want to do this, to do a 90-day commitment, and then we would do month to month thereafter. So it's just to have some, so we can have some progress over 90 days. And then after that, it would be month to month. So you can decide to do it, continue after that or not. And so since this is a new program, there's a special introductory pricing, and you can go to alexanderfigueredo.com/YouTube. Okay, so our action steps for all of us. Think about 3 mainstream trending topics that you could apply to your niche or industry. And so these are things that are happening in the world, right? Trending topics that you can find an angle that would fit for your business. The second thing is to find 3 topics that are shocking or controversial within your niche and industry. And you don't have to do a video on this, but I hope that the idea of coming up with ideas helps to, make some more creative decisions, right? And maybe you do only one of these. Maybe you decide to only do one of these a month, right? And you create other types of content, more steady content. And then every once in a while, you put out something that's more in the mainstream or more controversial. And one other topic, just a little tweak here, pro tip. Just because you're posting content that's controversial doesn't mean that you have to have that controversial opinion. You can just cover the topic. And just by virtue of you covering the topic, that will increase the viewership, because people might be already searching for that topic, for that content. So on my true crime channel, for example, just by posting a specific case, I don't even put an opinion about it, but just because I talk about it, there's people who are strongly in agreement and strongly in disagreement. And I've learned to manage that. But my point is that you don't have to be giving your opinion on it. You could just cover a topic, and that could help you open yourself up to a wider audience. And then the third thing, it's a bonus. If you create a video over the next week that incorporates a trending topic or shock or controversy, send it to me and I'll make sure to comment on it and to share as well, to give you a little boost for your video. All right, ladies, before we end, what was your biggest takeaway from today? I would love to hear that. Say it, or you can type it.
Yeah, there were quite a few. It was very fascinating. The different things you showed on going viral.
The best practices for each of the 3 videos.
Yeah, I thought that was very good. I thought a lot of what you covered was very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad. I think that helped me also, to assess what's working and what's not working. That's why it's so important to know what's working now, right? To seeing what's on the cusp of what's happening now. So, all right, ladies. Well, have a blessed rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you soon. And yeah, can't wait to see your next videos.
Bye-bye.
Bye. For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.